Hello and welcome to another stream. This month, it's November, we are going to be talking about the new feature that we released recently, which is scheduled publishing. We released this after kind of a lot of people were wanting this, so we kind of worked really hard building this feature out, talking to all of our users, customers, and kind of trying to figure out the best way to build this. And I believe we've built something really remarkable with scheduled publishing here. Huge team effort with everything. So I thought I'd dedicate November to kind of walk through this feature and we kind of see what it's all about. So we'll get started. We'll dive into the actual product. Let me pull that up on screen for you now. And we have an announcement on the blog. If you are curious to learn more, there's a few videos and kind of examples. We've got some documentation, which I'll show you throughout the stream today. But like any other product stream, we're going to kind of dive into the actual GraphCMS product. What we've got here is something which I've created before. And I kind of just want to kind of highlight this area in GraphCMS. If you're signing up as a new user, we've made it really easy for you to get started with some of our kind of template or blank projects. So we have templates, which if we click on this here, whoops, there we go. We have some projects that are templates, and these are schema templates. They come with a little bit of content for you to kind of play around with and get familiar with how all of the models are scaffolded, how the relationships are created, and all of that fun stuff without you kind of having to learn all of that. So you can dive in, you can create a new project with one of those, or you can use one of our more kind of feature-rich starters. And these come with some code. So these come with a GitHub repo. They may have some styling, a bit more real-worldy. We've got a blog, a commerce application, a traditional marketing website that's using at the moment, that's using GraphQL union types. So if you're new to that, or you want to kind of see how you work with a headless CMS using GraphQL union types, well, we've got a template starter for you to do that as well. And all of the code is open source on GitHub and free for you to use. Also, we have a course that my colleague Scott created with the folks over at Netlify that's using SvelteKit, Daisy UI, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So Scott walks you through creating all of that on his Netlify Mission Explorer. So that's there for you to kind of get started with if you are interested as well. So what we'll do today actually is I think I'm going to take the blog. It doesn't really matter. So the blog, this has code. We're not going to use any of that. We're just going to stay within the application, and we're going to have a look at the scheduled publishing feature. And like all of these streams every month, I will walk you through creating a few models and kind of showing you around that. So we'll kind of tweak some of the project here so you get familiar with it. And yeah, we'll kind of just dive on in. So I'm just going to say my blog. I'm very creative with names here. And I'm going to go ahead and choose the location for my data. And this is where that will be stored. We serve all of this over a distributed CDN. So don't worry about that. This is just where the data is stored. I'm going to go ahead and create that project. So this will take a few moments to create. And once that's created, it's going to bring some example schema and content along with it so we can kind of fiddle around and see what's what with a new project. But while that's creating that project, let's have a look at the documentation. There's a little bit of terminology to get used to when we're working with scheduled publishing. So if you haven't seen this already, feel free to head on over to the GraphCMS/docs. And if you head on to user guides and scroll down, one of the guides we've got around content is for scheduled publishing. So this will walk you through some of the terminology, but I'll be going through this today anyway. But if you don't want to listen to me, or you want to when you're watching this back, of course, feel free to browse the docs and learn all about that, of course. So have we finished creating? Yes, we have. And well, I think for this stream, I will not pay anything today. I'm going to go ahead and invite my team later. And yeah, let's kind of dive into the project here. So this is the dashboard. We walk you through creating a few things. One other thing which I kind of wanted to kind of very briefly showcase today is these guides here. So these are relatively new. Please give us any feedback on this. If you are using, SvelteKit or with Urkel or GraphQL Request, even Next.js or the Gatsby source plugin, we've got kind of all of these guides in here that walk you through creating a very basic implementation with those frameworks. And we give you all of the code as well. So you can copy this and then paste this into your code editor. And it pre-fills the endpoints and the API keys as well. So that's really cool. We're just kind of trying to make that process a lot easier for you to get started. But yeah, let's dive in and see. If we go back to the project index, you'll see a few of these have been ticked already. That's because we've used a template schema here. So let's dive into a schema, first of all. So what is a schema? Well, we have a GraphQL schema that's built up of all these different scalar types. And you'll see inside of GraphCMS, we've got tons of them. So these kind of, all of these will be reflected in the API schema, the GraphQL schema that you can introspect and you can query against. But also what we'll give you is a rich editing interface for content editors. So if you added a single line text, you'll see a text entry and what you would, a HTML input. Maybe as if you added multi-line text, you'd see a text area. Now, if you use Markdown, well, we'll show you a Markdown editor. And the same for rich text. We'll show you rich text where you can actually see the rich text with text being, bold, underlined, have links and all of that fun stuff. And the same for numbers, floats, and a few of the other interesting ones are dates and date times. We'll store those in the GraphQL schema, and we'll also present the content editor an input for these. So you'll click on this, it'll show a date picker, and you can choose those dates. Same with JSON, we'll give you a little editor where you can edit JSON. Asset picker, we allow you to upload files. Colors, we allow you to upload, not upload, but select colors in many different formats. We'll return that to you. Map will allow you to check on a map and save coordinates for that location. And then also we have drop downs for enums and we have references, relations between models. So let's just have a quick look at some of this here. We've got a title. We can move some of this around, which will be reflected for content editors. So if you wanted them to fill out the title first, well, you could move that around and they would see that. We've also got descriptions in here. This will be inside of the API as well, and it will be in the UI for content editors. So we think about both of these. We're kind of building these features for everyone. How is this going to work for developers, and how is this going to work for content editors? We put a lot of time into this, so all of this kind of stuff here is reflected in as many areas as possible. We can see here that we've got a bunch of different configuration for things. Let's have a look at this slug. So at any time you want to update your GraphQL schema, you can just edit that field. You can see we've got a description, and you can see here that it will be reflected to API users. We even have localization and features, which we've highlighted on previous streams and things. So you can configure all of these by opening the schema editor and designing your schema within the UI. There's no, you don't need to download anything to do all of this. We have SDKs, which we'll show next month, on how you can manage all of this programmatically. But if you just wanted to use the UI to manage your GraphQL schema, well, you've got all of the tools here that will enable you to do that. So yeah, we've got other fun stuff in here, such as limiting the character count for these inputs, specifying specific patterns with regex, and then we have other validation properties on here as well. Things like initial values we support for content editors, and we've got some field visibility features as well. Essentially what this allows you to do is add fields to models that either show to content editors, don't, or allow you to use other fields such as extensions, UI extensions, which we've covered in a previous stream, and the values can kind of be shown or hidden depending on who you want to see them. So feel free to check all of that out if that sounds interesting. And we've got a bunch of other things here as well. I will just call out this special model called SEO, and you'll see that this is a reference. And if you've been nosy and had a look on the left here, you'll see that we have an SEO model, and we've got a parent page as well. This is actually a GraphQL union type, and this allows us to kind of reference either on a page or a post a SEO model. So this is just a reference. We handle the kind of any kind of communication between those. So typically you might need to create an SEO kind of through table. We handle all of that at the GraphCMS side. So you don't have to worry about all those advanced configurations. We just expose a really nice API for doing all of that. So I don't want to spend too much going on in here, but I think with a blog, it's really nice because we can use the scheduled publishing feature and show you this. So you'll see here, I'm just going to show you very quickly. Let's have a look at the post content editor. So we've got some posts here, and let's just click the top one. So we've got a post here, and like I was saying before, we've got some text inputs. We've got a text area because this is multi-line, and we've got a reference that allows us to kind of pick images. So if I click replace cover image, that's going to allow me to pick an image that already exists within the system or upload a new one. And I can upload that from Facebook, Instagram, Google Drive, or a web search, or provide the URL. And of course, I can drag and drop from my local machine. So we've got all of that baked in. You can just use that within your models. Then we've got the content, which is the rich text here. So I can choose content and make it bold. I could even change this whole thing to be a H2 heading, which is really cool as well. What else do we have? We got some tags. So if you wanted to allow multiple inputs of something, we'll even render you a kind of input here, and you can add these to a list, which is really cool. You know, as a content editor, I have a schema. We provide all of the inputs for it. And you can kind of, as a developer, you can let your content editors come in here and manage all of the content for complex GraphQL schemas. And we kind of handle all of that beautifully, I think. So yeah, lastly, we've got an author down here. And yeah, you can kind of go through these if you clone a project, if you're following along, or you're following along later, you can open all of these and see all of the different kind of UI things. And here we've got things about the document, when it was published, who published it, what content stage it's on, has this thing been localized, is there any versions? Depending on your plan, some of these features will show, and obviously some won't. But the purpose of today's stream, really, over the kind of next 15 minutes, we are just going to kind of have a look at the scheduled items, or the scheduled publishing feature of GraphCMS. So this is relatively new, and there could be things that come up that need kind of tweaking. Please do get in touch and let us know your feedback. Feel free to open the chat by contacting support down here, and just kind of let us know any features you've got, or head on over to our public Slack, get involved with the community there, and let us know how you feel. So I think the first thing that I'm going to do is create a release, because I think this is, I'm going to walk you through scheduling individual items, but it's really nice if we can bundle multiple releases, multiple items to be published at any one time. We could have something that is a new product, and we may have pages, we may have blog posts, we may have new authors or something that we want to publish at a specific time. And we can do that with what we call a content release. So let's just, inside of here, we'll just say the big day. I don't know what it is, but this could be the big day for product releases or something. So let's add that. So we are releasing a bunch of different product releases. We're going to have multiple pages, and we are going to have multiple posts as well. So if I could just find my cursor, we'll be able to resume. There we go. And at this point, say you are not sure when your marketing team says we can start promoting this feature, or the product team says, hold up, we can't release this product yet. Well, you as a marketing team, or whoever is using the CMS to manage content, you can just kind of add things to a scheduled release, and then you can kind of, we can modify that date later, and I'll show you that now. So here we've kind of got a list of things. Let's just add another one for the sake of it. We'll create a new one, and you'll see here we get a list of all of our different releases, and we can sort those newest to oldest. We just created those, so not really helpful, but we can also filter them as well. So there could be cases where there is something which is pending. Normally, I think that is when it's in progress. Something that isn't scheduled, we see here that, there's something not scheduled. So that will show up there. Anything that's failed or completed, that will show in the status column as well. And then, you got your obvious pagination things, and this is kind of familiar if you've used the rest of the application. You can paginate through things and show however many you like. So this is releases, and this is where you manage those releases. I'm going to click on the big day for product releases that we just created. And inside of here, we don't have any content items. But like I said earlier, you can always come back and edit any one of these product releases. So we can go into here, we can edit details. So say we now know what the big day is for, or what product we want to release, we can update that there. We can also provide some helpful text that we can update, and that will show beneath here. So this could just be, if you're working on a group of things you want to schedule, you can let your entire team know what that is. Everyone should be focused on scheduling content for, and putting that in there. So use that, and you've got the UI here. You can delete this, of course, and we can also create a schedule. So this is the fun stuff. This is where we get onto the actual scheduling part of these releases. So like I say, releases can be, releases are kind of a group of other items to be released at one point. So we can choose a time. Let's choose today. And what is the time now? Let's say 2:55. That gives us a timeline. Okay, we've got like 6 minutes to do this. 6 or 7 minutes to do this. Let's click OK. You can also choose the time zone in here. Hopefully that'll work for me. And we'll click create. So that's now scheduled to publish at that time, which is really cool. So now I'm going to go to scheduled items, and we don't have anything in here. So I'm going to come back to this, but this is where you can go and you can see everything that's scheduled. All of those kind of individual items are scheduled. And I'll show you that in a second. So why don't we go over to the content now? And why don't we create a new item? Hopefully there's not too many fields here. So new product 1. This is so amazing. Now. Required, what's your page title? I don't know. New product 1 again, I guess. And you can see here we can relate some SEO stuff. I'm not going to bother. We'll just fill out the required fields. Now what we can do, I'm just going to save that. We're going to save this as a draft, and you can either publish it immediately, like you've probably already been doing. But now, if you click the drop down, we can schedule a item. So if you didn't see that, that is if we click this drop down here and go to the third item, schedule item. This will then give us the ability to schedule a item individually. So I think we've got about 5 minutes before this kind of will be processed. Hopefully we don't miss it, but let's click on this here and continue. If you missed that, again, I can schedule the item individually only, or I can add it to a release. And we created the test one, which is unscheduled, and we have the one for the big product releases that we created previously as well. So let's click continue on that. Whoops, I clicked it too fast, but never mind. I'll go through and just show you that again. Yeah, let's click that one there. And at this stage, we can also choose to unpublish something as well. So, you can add this to a release to be published, or you can add it to the release to be unpublished. So this is really cool. Imagine that you had something, a new product that was, I don't know, let's take an iPhone. We were releasing the iPhone 20 or whatever number we're on to now. We wanted to kind of unpublish the page about the iPhone 15 because we're discontinuing that. Well, we could schedule that to happen at the same time. I think anyone working in SEO would probably dislike me for doing that, but we could remove and unpublish those pages and publish the new page and remove the old one. So we can also add that to the release as well. But I chose to publish in the previous instance. I'll go ahead and cancel that because we've already got that. Now I'm going to go down to post here. And what I will do is open up a content entry. Maybe it's an existing content entry. So this has got some changes. I'm just going to go ahead and make a change to the document here. It's not really too important what this is. The actual magic, though, again, is when we go up here and we go to save and schedule item. So this is going to save the document. And this time we're going to choose to schedule the item only. It's going to be individually scheduled, and it'll be released as published or unpublished depending on what we select here. So you'll notice the modal that we had before for the releases. When we chose release to add this as part of a release, we didn't get the option to specify a date or time. That's because the parent release already has that. Well, in here, we've now got the ability to publish all of this stuff at a specific date or time. So if we go in here, and let's just pick 2, maybe 2:53, might work. Don't know what time. What time we are now. There we go. And we can also specify the time zone. We'll continue. We can also choose to publish related assets as well in here. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of skip that for now. We don't, those are all published. We can leave those, and we'll go ahead and schedule the item there. Now then, if we go here, we can now see that we have this individual item to be published inside of here. So we click it, we can then go back through to that item. And if I go back, again, we can see the list of individual items. For us, we only have that one page right now that is that I've scheduled here. The post that I've scheduled at a specific time, and you can see kind of who scheduled that as well. And you can see it's pending. We can also delete that as well if we wanted to. But I'm going to move back to the releases now, and you can see here I've got this test release, and we've got the big day for product releases. Now, the only thing that's different here, you might see, is that we have the number of items that's increased by 1, and the status has changed to pending. And that is because we now have an item in there. Before, it looked like this, test. We didn't have anything, so it's not scheduled. And we obviously updated it to be scheduled, so that's shown in there. Now, we've moved into this release. We can then see all of the individual items to be published. In this case, the action is to be published. Of course, like I said before, you can choose to unpublish something as well. So this is really cool when you're inside of here. And again, if you wanted to change any of this, you could go into here. You could change the time zone and things. So hopefully I haven't messed the time zone up and this actually runs. I'm not sure if I chose the correct time zone. It doesn't really matter. But what happens is that will then be processed, and we'll see. So there we go. I scheduled that one for 14:54. Now we have something that is completed. And if we go inside of this item here, you'll see that this will be published to the content stage. So everything is in there. As a content editor, you can see when things are scheduled. So I just refreshed the page there. We can see that the latest version of this that has been scheduled and published at 14:54. Now, if we go back to the releases, I'm not sure if I chose the right time zone on this one. It's worked. Cool. I did choose the right time zone. Okay, so we can see here that the status is completed. That page has now been published. And again, if I go through to this one, we can see that it was published at 14:55. So this is scheduled publishing. You can also obviously schedule unpublishing inside of there as well. So feel free to check it out and give it a go. We think this is going to be really useful to some people. Anyone that is kind of releasing content and needs to do it at a specific time, they need to bulk releases and bulk publish. Well, you can now do that with the product here. So let us know what you think about this feature and anything we can add to it and improve it. I think maybe there's one last thing that I kind of touched on briefly that I could show you is if we go into here and schedule this item, we'll say individually, and we'll just make it today. And we'll choose a bit later on today. Whoops, we're well past that time. Let's choose 3:14 and we'll click continue. We'll not choose anything to publish with it. This is what I didn't show you before. This is also cool. The part inside of the content form, you can see on the right-hand side all of the statuses of this document. So you can see all of the content stages it's published to. And if you wanted to, say you wanted to publish this at a certain time and also unpublish it later, you could set multiple in here and they would show inside of here as well. So let's see if we can do that. Go in here. We'll say unpublish. We'll unpublish it tomorrow. Doesn't matter what time. and then continue. We'll not unpublish anything that's related to it. So we can see here that the first thing that's going to happen is we are going to publish at 1514 today, and then tomorrow we are going to unpublish, and this will be unpublished from the publish stage. If you had multiple content stages, you can obviously control all of that, and with locales, you can manage all of that as well. So hopefully this stream has been interesting and you've learned something new. And like I say, please do let us know your feedback in Slack, in the intercom. If you open the support within the app, let us know wherever you like. Send us an email, reply to the welcome email, reply to an email from me, and we take your feedback on board. So let us know what you think, and hopefully you enjoy this new feature. But thanks for joining this week, and we'll be back very soon, and we'll be talking about the management SDK, which I think you'll all love.